We're gonna fight, fight, fight for Iowa. Let every loyal Iowan sing.
Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. That is Public Access TV. I'm Dirk Keller. This is Bob Boyd. That's Bud Supel, and here, Earl the Pearl Murphy.
That's him.
Joe Murphy's behind the camera and the lights. And before we get going, I want to thank Pat White for filling in for me last week while I was under the weather. And he did a really good job if you saw the show.
Finally.
He was good.
Yeah.
We had
Finally.
somebody.
Finally good to have an MC, huh, Murph?
That's how it's done.
He was very knowledgeable. Always has been, always will be. And,
Well prepared, like you always are.
yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
I heard that, Earl.
Good thing somebody's prepared,
I
right?
heard that. Well, I don't think the Hawkeye football team was very well prepared to face Wisconsin last week. Wow. I would call that a humbling defeat. What do you guys think?
Well, I never given any thought. I didn't have any feelings. I was really disappointed.
That's a feeling. Bud?
Well, I feel the same way. Every one of our games that we've been ahead at halftime, we come out and we don't do anything.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that.
And that's what's really why we can't punch that. We could have been ahead 21-7 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
I often wonder if Kirk is talking at halftime. Maybe he does.
Well, that's one of the questions I wanted to talk about was, are we getting out-coached at halftime? We've led every game except Wisconsin, and that was 7-6 at halftime.
Let's look at the statistics. And what are we averaging in the second half in Big Ten play these last 4 games? 3 points. 3 points. And we rank something like 122 in the nation in that category as far as production in the second half.
Second half points.
And, hey, listen, looks to me like we're getting out-coached at halftime. I mean, we put the skids on at halftime. And, I mean, obviously the kids know it, the coaches know it, and we keep waiting for something different to happen in the second half. It hasn't happened,
Just hasn't.
you know? And we were very lucky to win the Northwestern game,
Oh, yeah.
you
How
know? And go ahead,
How
Murph.
many times are we behind?
In the second half?
Yes.
Well, we started every game at the beginning of the second half ahead, except Wisconsin, and we were down 7-6.
That's right.
And that was that late touchdown pass, deep pass, that was just terribly defended. I don't know what our D-back was looking at, but it might have been the strong safety. I can't remember, but it was terrible. And the ball was underthrown. The receiver for Wisconsin had to basically wait and come back for it.
But I say all these games are being won by no defense and passing.
Yeah.
That's what Ohio State did to us.
Yep.
That's, you know, everyone I can remember sitting there.
Our secondary's killing us. There have been a lot of long bombs in the last 4 or 5 games. Yeah.
I'll tell you, that question should be asked to the guy who was the defensive coordinator.
That's right. Absolutely right.
Phil Parker?
No,
That's his expertise, supposedly.
No, the guy that.
The former?
Yes.
Norm Parker.
Yeah.
Norm Parker.
Well, it was really disappointing. We were
Yeah.
moving the ball against Wisconsin offensively and couldn't punch it in. And we just couldn't run the ball effectively.
That's been disappointing.
Yeah.
Since the Minnesota game, we've had trouble.
There's a short skip in the paper this morning that said that, and that's the truth.
It is. I'm just convinced Mark Weissman is more beat up than he's letting on or the
Yeah,
team is letting on.
I think so. But you know what? We have a couple other good running backs, and really, to be real honest, our offensive line hasn't opened the holes since the Ohio State game.
Mhm.
And,
See,
there's
that's
a lot
what-
of backs that can run through the openings if they're there. And I think you'll see a different offensive line this weekend against Purdue, because I think they know they have to establish the run again. And I've got to believe there's going to be quite a bit of pressure on that offense to run that ball down Purdue's throat. And that's what they should concentrate on.
Yeah, we got 3 chances.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you remember the Ohio State game, we come out and played a real good third quarter.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
tied
not-
at the end of 3 quarters.
Not really. We had 6 offensive plays, I think, in the third quarter. They had the ball the whole third quarter. We had 1 bomb for 85 yards
Well, it was tied,
that tied it up 24-24.
We had the lead at halftime.
Yes, we did.
yeah. But we
Yeah, it was
still, it
17
was
to 10,
tied
wasn't
after 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were tied.
You know, one
Is that right?
statistic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was all tied up.
And then we fell apart in the
Yeah.
4th quarter.
One
I didn't
statistic
realize that.
I get tired of hearing lately is the combined record of the teams that have beaten Iowa
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
31-3 or whatever it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Ohio State's undefeated, Northern Illinois is undefeated, but Michigan State's lost once, and then Wisconsin has lost twice.
Yes.
I guess that doesn't.
Who beat Wisconsin?
Arizona State,
Yeah.
And Ohio
and
State.
Ohio State.
They lost
Yeah.
1 game.
And really, Murph, we all know that
They shouldn't
Arizona
have
State
lost.
game was stolen from Wisconsin. They really should have 1 loss.
Yeah, and that's a first-year coach at Wisconsin who's done obviously a good job with what Brett Bielema left in the cupboard for him.
But he inherited a lot of talent.
He
too.
did.
Yeah, he did.
And somewhere along the line on the radio Saturday, I did hear Dolphin or Pogolack say that they're off. That's a heavily dominated senior team for Wisconsin, so that's good news.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those guys are going to be moving on as far as their linemen and that, but I didn't expect to beat Wisconsin necessarily unless we played really well, but I sure thought it'd be within a 7-point game.
Yeah.
And I guess the 4th quarter kind of got away from us because,
Well, then they scored there.
Yeah.
late.
yeah,
But the thing, I watch other football. And I'm speaking of Regina. I went to Sigourney. Regina was ahead by 3 points
At halftime,
at halftime. I went to another game. They were ahead by 8 points, and another game by 13. Now they did something in halftime because they come out in the 3rd and 4th quarter and scored 40 points.
that's right.
So they figured out something that was going wrong with it along there.
Well, speaking of that, though, buddy, I mean, don't we all remember up until 3 or 4 years ago when that was supposed to be an Iowa advantage? They'd go in and make adjustments
Right.
at halftime,
That's true.
and we'd always play a pretty good second half, and that just doesn't seem to be happening anymore.
No, it's not. I think, too, one of the things that has to be considered, and as hard as it is for me to admit, I just don't think we have the talent that teams like Wisconsin and Ohio State and Michigan State have. I don't
Well,
think we have the
Where
talent.
don't you think we have the talent? I
Um,
thought we didn't have the talent on defense.
I was really disappointed Saturday in our wide receivers. They dropped too many passes that were right in their hands.
Right, okay.
I was disappointed in some of the throws to the wide receivers that weren't on target.
That's not coaching, is it?
No, that's not coaching.
No, there you
No,
go.
but it is recruiting.
It's talent.
And I think that we have always been weaker than most teams we play in the Big Ten.
I
At
agree.
the
Well,
skilled,
we got to recruit
skilled positions.
Yeah.
at recruit.
Your receivers, you brought it up. Our D-backs, boy,
D-backs.
we need to recruit some D-backs for sure.
And we need to recruit speed
Yeah,
better than we have been because our D-backs either aren't quick enough or aren't smart enough to
But it's
cover
a
effectively.
lot better this year than it was too.
It's a little better.
So we're gaining a little on that.
It's a little better.
But
We are also in every football game
Yeah.
we play except one,
Yeah.
and
And this is the one we weren't in.
that's right.
yeah. I mean the
we could
score
have
was
been.
a little
we
deceptive.
would have
Really.
drove the ball in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
3 field goals, that's something.
And to me, that's
Yeah.
talent.
Well,
Although, you know, I think our defensive line and our linebackers are playing very well.
Yes.
I do
And
too.
I think we have to give credit where credit's due.
Defensive line had a great game.
Yes, and they've had some good games lately, and they've done their job. But you know, they're spending a lot. If you look at the time of possession in the second half for some of these games we're talking about, the other team has it a whole lot more. That means our defense is out there too long.
Yeah.
And you know, the fourth quarter, middle of fourth quarter, they get wore down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, they get those tired legs, and
Yeah.
that would only be natural. But I look for us to get better against Purdue, don't you guys?
Oh, yes.
I hope so. I just hope it's not a trap game. I hope, you know, Purdue's looking at this game Saturday as their last best chance to win a game. And, I mean, they've got to, they still have to go, I think they play Wisconsin, Ohio State, and then Indiana.
Yeah.
No, they played Ohio State last week.
Okay, well,
They got beat 68 to nothing.
maybe it's Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, they have a tough schedule ahead of them, and I would think they'd be a little beat up after getting beat by Ohio State
Yeah.
last
But
weekend.
then we have to look at it. You know, we have just as much to lose.
Oh,
Because
Yeah.
if we win that, we're in a bowl.
That's right. If
Then
we don't win that,
it looks pretty rough.
yeah.
you know what? If we don't win at Purdue, we don't deserve to go to a bowl. Getting beat by a 1-17.
I agree.
That's right.
So
I
they
agree.
need to win this
Yeah.
game. This is a must game like the Northwestern game that,
Well, and look what Northern Illinois did to them.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a game we should have won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I thought stood out amongst everything else in this game, empty possessions by the Iowa offense. And we kind of touched on it.
Yeah.
Being inside the red zone 3 times and coming away with just field goals. No touchdowns in this game. I don't know when the last time was Iowa didn't score a touchdown in a game, but it might have been last year. I can't remember.
I can't either.
The offensive line for Iowa, I thought, got manhandled, plain and simple. They got manhandled by Wisconsin's bigger, more talented defensive line.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
couldn't open holes for the running backs.
Yeah.
But those were seniors.
How
Yeah.
bad is our quarterback hurt?
He's not. He'll be
Not
back.
hurt, He'll be back.
Yeah.
He's listed as starter.
I think they
for
scored
Purdue.
most of their points against the.
Oh, Bethard. Well, yeah,
And, you know, he was a 4 first.
4 for 16, Murph.
Yeah.
Bethard was.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and Rudock wasn't much better.
11 for 19.
Well, that's better.
Yeah.
That's much better.
And out of that 19, there was 2 or 3 should have been caught.
Oh, at least 3. I
See,
can
you
think
have
of.
to look at that stuff and say the ball was right there. The one time, and nobody was around him.
Right in the hands
Yes.
and just dropped. It's inexcusable.
That was Martin Manley, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Martin Manley dropped 2 passes that I can think of, and
Didn't one of them cost us a first down there
Oh.
down at the?
I thought
Yeah.
it was a
Close to goal.
touchdown.
yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
agree.
Too.
I agree.
Well, you know, those guys practice all week. Come on.
Yeah. You got to make the catches,
The old saying was, if it hits you in the hands, you better catch it.
and that's a good saying.
It is.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Same in baseball, same
Yeah.
in basketball, same in football. If the ball's in your
I'd like
hand,
to say one
catch
thing
it.
right now.
Yeah.
I'm still an Iowa fan.
Absolutely.
Oh, I am too.
I don't think there's ever been a doubt.
That's
No,
right.
I know.
That's right.
We're all that, Murph.
I've got a couple of interesting statistics here,
Yeah.
defensive statistics. And again, I think we all agree that the Iowa defense was very stout on Saturday. They have allowed
Say,
only
What's wrong with Alva's?
back.
Oh, okay.
It's a back injury. They're not saying anything more. He's not going to play again this Saturday.
Yeah, I read that.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
the Iowa defense has allowed 4 rushing touchdowns all year, which ties them for 3rd lowest total in the nation. They've also allowed only 8 red zone touchdowns all season. Again, red zone is from the 20-yard
Yeah,
line
that-
to the goal line.
Yep.
8 red zone touchdowns allowed this year, which ties them for 3rd lowest also in the nation. 3rd lowest in the nation for rushing touchdowns, 3rd lowest in the nation for red zone touchdowns. And when you have a 5-4 record, it leads me to believe there are a lot of big plays, and we know that to be the case. Purdue, on the other hand, has a total of 7 red zone touchdowns all season, which is the lowest in the Big Ten. Iowa ranks number 2 in the Big Ten in pass defense, giving up 186 yards per game passing. Purdue ranks 11th in the Big Ten in pass offense, gaining 188 yards per game average in the air.
How many?
188 yards average, and that's 11th in the Big Ten, pass offense.
Not like
Questions?
the old Purdue.
No.
That's
No.
for sure.
This
yeah.
isn't your Mark Herman's
Yeah.
Purdue.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So maybe we do have a
And
chance.
a guy that we could have had if we didn't have so many quarterbacks was Breeze from.
Oh, yeah, Drew Brees with the Iowa connection. And before I forget, the game this Saturday at Purdue is at 11 a.m. on the Big Ten Network. Purdue is 1-7. They've lost all but one game this year. They're
What was the
0-4.
one game?
I don't know. It had
Notre
to be.
Dame, Notre Dame.
They didn't.
They
No,
played
I
Notre-
think they beat Indiana State or something like
Yeah,
that.
they didn't beat Notre Dame. It was
No.
close.
Oh, no. Okay.
It was close.
Right.
It was
That's
at
right.
Purdue
It was
and
close,
it was
real
close.
close.
Well, and that's what worries you, doesn't it? Look
Yep.
Yeah.
at Michigan State beat them 14-0,
Yep.
and it was 7-0 in the fourth
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah.
But Michigan State
Yeah.
got beat by Notre Dame, too.
Yes, they did.
So, you know, you
Yeah.
can't really, depends how a team wants to get up for the ball game.
That's right.
I think the longer you go in the Big Ten, it's hard to rectify anything you've done.
That's right. Absolutely
You get
right.
beat up along the way.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, who would have thought at this point we'd be 5-4, and the team that we manhandled, Minnesota, is 7-2? I didn't think that was a very good team, Minnesota.
I didn't
but,
either.
They've come on strong.
And they've done it since their head coach went up to the press box
That's
after
right.
his, stroke or whatever it was,
Yeah.
seizures. Iowa and Purdue have 4 common opponents this year: Michigan State, Northern Illinois, Ohio State, and Wisconsin.
How do you do with Northern Illinois?
They didn't do well at all. They got smoked.
Oh, Illinois beat him 54-. It was bad.
Yeah, it was ugly. And neither Iowa or Purdue have beaten any of these 4 common opponents. Again, Michigan State, Ohio State, Northern Illinois, and Wisconsin. And then I want to remind you, maybe a little motivation. I don't know, it makes me kind of sad when I think about it. I kind of blocked this out of my memory. But almost a year to the day that we played Purdue this year, we hosted them in Kinnick Stadium last year,
Oh,
November
yeah.
10th. I'll just remind you of how this went down. Iowa scored. Purdue's place kicker Paul Griggs hit a 46-yard field goal as time expired
Yep.
to beat Iowa 27-24. The victory was Purdue's first win in Iowa City in 20 years. 20 years.
Ooh.
Iowa had tied the score with 3.5 minutes left in the game. And they tied it on a Mike Meyer 24-yard field goal. 24-yard field goal. That's how, that's
How
pretty
close we were. That's
Yeah.
almost,
That's 7.
that's like an extra point.
Yeah. So we couldn't punch it in, tied it with 3.5 minutes to go. And then when we kicked it, after a stop by the Iowa defense, Iowa took over on its own 14-yard line with 1:08 left. Iowa put together an 8-play, 52-yard drive to the Purdue 35-yard line, but was unable to convert on 4th and 3 yards. And Purdue got the ball back with 16 seconds left on the clock. Sound familiar? Yeah.
I remember.
Oh,
Purdue's quarterback then scrambled for 17 yards on the first play and then hit Antavian Edison for a 20-yard pass reception on the next play, which set up the game-winning 46-yard field goal. Again, I'll restate, 16 seconds left in the game after Iowa failed on a 4th and 3. And I can remember thinking,
Okay, but
not a
on
big
that
deal.
4th and 3, where did you say the ball was?
I didn't, because I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
did. I think you said the 35.
No.
When did
Oh.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
They did. I'm sorry.
35.
They had a
So why-
52-yard drive to the to the Purdue 35-yard line, and were
So
unable to
why
convert.
didn't we try a field goal
I
instead of?
think it was very windy that day.
Okay, that's
and
what
they
I
would have
need
been
to know.
kicking into the wind. That's
Yeah.
my recollection. It would have been a 52-yard
52-yard.
field goal
Okay.
into the wind. I remember thinking,
But I think I would try.
try it. Yeah,
What's it gonna hurt to try it when there's no more time left than that?
Amen.
I think they probably didn't want to give Purdue the ball on the 35-yard line,
Well,
but
they
we did
did.
anyway.
Did anyway.
Yeah.
They did that over at Ohio State
Yeah,
when we were tied yet.
yeah.
Okay.
I hope. Well, I don't hope. We know the coaches remember this game last year. We know that they've reminded the Hawkeye players what that felt like last year, because I know it was a punch to the gut.
Oh, it was.
It was a big time punch to the gut.
That kept us out of the,
That and the Central Michigan loss.
didn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it
But
did.
the Purdue one hurt me more than any of them.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that's a conference win we could have got in there. And that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like Merck. We all love the Hawkeyes and the coaches and everything else. But we do have problems there.
we do.
And we talk about them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why it's called sports opinion.
That's right.
We're just passing on concerns that we've heard from our friends that are fans also. You know,
You bet.
the personal
Well, some
relationships
of
we
them, I
have.
wonder
I
if
mean,
they're friends.
the Hawkeye fan base is frustrated.
Yeah. Last year left a real bad taste in everybody's mouth, and that Purdue game was pretty much the
Oh, that's just.
Yeah.
the epitome of
We still
pain.
got a chance to have a.
oh
Yes,
yeah.
we do.
We have 3 games left.
That's right.
Purdue, then a bye week, again a bye week, then home for the season finale, or home finale against Michigan, then on the road to Nebraska. We all know Nebraska can be beat.
Yes.
So can Michigan.
But the main
And
thing,
Michigan.
Michigan, I'd say.
Depends on the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
I mean, you know.
but I think if we beat Purdue, really, we're gonna come back and play like a football for the next 3 games. Or the next 2. And I
Yeah,
think we can
yeah.
beat both those teams.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
I do think if we beat Purdue, it will take that bowl pressure off. Okay, we've got our 6 wins.
Yeah.
We're gonna get another month of practice, which is huge,
That's
especially
right.
for the younger players going into next year.
Yeah.
You know, so
Right.
once, you know, if you can beat Purdue, you're 6-4. Open date, you get healed up a little bit
For Michigan.
for Michigan and Nebraska. And we can win all 3 of those games.
You know,
But not if our offense plays like it's been playing.
And I want to ask, what happened to our tight ends? Why weren't they utilized against Wisconsin? To see what we could do with our tight ends at Ohio State, and then not use them virtually at all. Certainly not the 3 tight end set that we saw employed in Columbus. Where were they? I really thought that could have made a
question.
difference. I just don't. I mean, I'm not a football coach, and I'm certainly not a football expert, but I know what I saw at Ohio State was really wonderful to see us utilize those tight ends time after time. Nobody has an answer for our tight ends.
They caught 9 balls that Ohio State game between the 4 tight ends we had playing.
And they were big catches, too. Big
Yeah.
plays.
Yeah.
Big plays.
Well,
why,
that's a good question.
Why didn't we go to a more... And I don't think we once had a 3 tight end set against Wisconsin. I know there are reasons. The coaches know what they're doing, and there's a reason. I'm just asking, what are the reasons? And you know, if somebody's got an answer to that, please call Bud Supel tonight at midnight and let him know
But
what
anyway,
it is.
you know what I think is gonna happen Saturday? I think we're gonna run that ball right through them.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
It's gonna
I
be a
think-
running
I think
game.
we need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And we have
need
to.
They have a terrible run defense.
That's right. And these, don't tell me that Wisconsin didn't work on stopping those guys.
Oh, they did,
You
and
know,
they did it well.
And there wasn't anybody predict for us to beat Wisconsin.
Nope. Nobody.
Well, and by the way, except for a couple of plays, we held their running attack pretty well.
There
That's
you
right.
go.
You know,
And
you had
right
that
off the
James
goal,
White
right.
who,
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, I can't wait till he graduates. He's just been a gamer for 4 years.
Is it
And he
Gordon?
breaks off that 59-yard run, that James White. And Gordon didn't, he had 62 yards total.
Yeah, we stopped Gordon, but
Yeah.
White was a killer on us.
Yep. Yep. And it's over. Flush it down. One
Flush it.
thing I do want to talk about, one last thing about the game, and we've talked about this earlier. And I'm just going to be really blunt.
Right.
We all walked
Oh.
into the stadium. Bob, of course, couldn't appreciate it because he can't see.
I heard plenty about it.
But when we walked into the stadium,
Oh,
the first thing we all saw were red and white pom-poms.
On the 50-yard line.
50-yard line.
And my first thought was, wow, there are a lot of Wisconsin fans here today. And then I went, wait a minute, those are our fans. It was the geniuses
marketing geniuses.
at the University of Iowa Athletic Marketing Department.
Who are they?
Well, it's Rick Klatt.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
It's Lisa Pearson. It's Rick Klatt. It's, there are other people. Paula Jantz is involved in game day operations. Somebody said, okay, the idea was to honor our veterans because we don't have a home game on Veterans Day weekend. Veterans Day is this coming Monday.
Monday, right.
And so they thought, let's put red, white, and blue pom-poms in all the seats, and each section was going to have a different color. Well, what they failed to figure into the equation, several things. Number one, they asked us to all wear black.
Yep.
So it was a blackout game. You don't see blue pom-poms up against a black background.
That's right.
All right, number one. Number two, we're playing Wisconsin.
What are their colors?
Their colors are red and white.
That's
Red
right.
and white.
And so that stadium
That's
looked
common
like
sense.
a red and white Wisconsin back crowd. And okay, that's one thing for the fans who were in the stadium. But here's what really gets me is the people that watched on TV, on ABC throughout the
yes,
country.
right.
Yes.
There you
They
go.
look at Kinnick Stadium and they're seeing all these red and white pom-poms. I mean, you've got to be an idiot. And this is my opinion. I'm not speaking for these guys, but I do marketing for a living.
You
And
know,
you have to think things through.
Rick Klatt was an AAU boxing champion.
Rick Klatt,
Yeah.
good for him.
He's looking for you.
Bring it. I'll leg sweep him.
But that 50-yard line, that was all red.
It really took
And
me off.
ABC showed nothing but the red.
And then you've got the coaches and the players who are at their home stadium and they see red and white pom-poms throughout the game. And there's another point to bring up. We were asked to shake these pom-poms during the national anthem.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
No, I know.
You don't shake anything during the national anthem. You stand at attention, you salute, you do whatever, you take your hat off if
That's
you're a
right.
man, but you don't shake pom-poms.
No.
So who's the idiot that decided this was a good idea?
That's right.
Well,
I agree with you.
I'm still. It's Wednesday and I'm still hot about it.
Yeah,
I am
I am
tired
too.
of all the screw ups in the marketing department who just have no. They never seem to have to answer for the ridiculous ideas that they come up with.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Ugh.
I think it was a great marketing idea. The problem is, for Wisconsin,
Yeah.
like you said, this is on national TV, ABC. And first of all, if you're going to honor the veterans, and we should, those that
Yeah.
served our country, you don't do it 9 days before Veterans Day just because you have a football game. If you want to do that, hey, I got a better idea. Why don't you do it at the basketball game on November 10th?
That's right.
Okay? That didn't need to be done at all at that particular time. Now, I have a neighbor next to me. He and his wife are both U of I graduates, and he went to work in Madison and lived in Madison, raised his kids there for 30 years. Moved back here because they're Iowa fans and they have a lot of Wisconsin friends. So 4 of their couple friends from Madison came to the Iowa-Wisconsin game for the weekend and visited my neighbors. And I had lunch with Alan yesterday, and he said, and he's a big Hawkeye fan, and to a person, his visitors said, they walked in and they were shocked. And they said, thank you very much for being such polite hosts, for having red and white pom-poms. They were surprised, very surprised. And by the way, they said they went to a couple tailgaters around Kinnick, and the Wisconsin folks said the Iowa fans were terrific and very polite and very, engaging, and they had a real nice time. But we made it a lot better for them, of
Sure
course,
did.
by doing that, and they couldn't believe it either.
Well, that was just terrible. And then, get the cost. I don't know what those things cost, but you're talking probably 50,000.
Well, about
And-
50 cents a
but
piece
then
is what
the
they cost.
person,
There you go.
Then the person, they got a big amount of money to put on each seat early in the morning. So you're talking a big bundle of money.
Well,
Hey, I'll tell
that's
you what.
volunteers who put it out there.
We would be griping about that if we'd have won.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
hell
right.
yeah.
Good thinking.
Good point.
Right.
Let me-
We'd have been mad if we won and it
Yeah.
happened.
Let me point something else out. This is the same marketing
you're right.
group who last year, when the Michigan State basketball team came to Carver Hawkeye, decided to have a whiteout. Now, if you pay any attention to Big Ten basketball, you know that that's what Michigan State does at home for their basketball team.
And
They
it
do
is-
whiteouts.
And what colors
beautiful.
are theirs?
And their
Green
colors are
and
white
white.
and green.
I mean,
And so Michigan State comes to Carver Hawkeye, and they're just feeling right at home with the whiteout
That's
crowd.
right.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
not as big a deal as putting red and white pom-poms out for the Wisconsin game at Kinnick Stadium, because this was on national TV. I'm sorry.
it was
But-
an embarrassment.
It is.
I think it went beyond embarrassment.
Oh.
I think, Bud, you can speak to how Kirk Ferentz feels when he walks into his stadium and sees red and white pom-poms for
right.
the Wisconsin
I know
game.
what you want to-
I guarantee you he wasn't happy about
No,
it.
that's right.
Well, you
And
know what?
when does somebody have to answer for this kind of boneheaded moves that the marketing
Yeah.
department continually makes?
Well, you know what? Kirk Ferentz, or it should have been in Barta's office about Monday morning, or in the marketing
Oh,
department,
hell.
or wherever.
Saturday night.
Well,
I mean, that's just stupid.
and he had to be. He won't say anything, I'm sure.
Well, and he had to
But-
face it all afternoon. I mean, he
Yeah.
was on that side.
Yeah.
So he had to look all.
As did the players.
Yeah, that's right.
It's demoralizing. It's just demoralizing. It
Well,
may
this
not
got the
agree.
Hawkeye fan base fired up.
Yep, it's all anybody talked about during
Yeah.
the game, after the game, on Sunday, on Monday, and here it is Wednesday, and we're still talking about it. Now, I will say this much. Monday morning, I fired off an email to Gary Barta, as well as Paula Jantz, as well as Lisa Pearson. I don't even waste my time sending something to Rick Klatt, because quite frankly, he's an idiot. Sports opinion,
What do you
my
really-
opinion.
What do you really think?
Well,
What do you really
to
think?
Gary,
Are you a close friend of his or not?
he used to be my roommate.
I don't think so.
I know him. I know him well. He used to
I
live
know.
with me.
Oh,
I
he
worked with
did?
him. Oh yeah, I worked with him for 20 plus years, and I've been screwed over by him time after time. I think he's an arrogant individual who thinks he's above everybody. He doesn't even stick around for the football games. He gets there for the start, leaves.
Well, that is bad.
It's real bad. And how he keeps his job after all these years. This is a guy who has no marketing experience. He was a finance major. He was hired by the women's athletic department to crunch numbers for the women's games. All right? And somehow he got brought into
squeezed
the
in,
men's
okay.
side, and he's just another one of these guys in the ivory tower. Excuse me, but it's the truth. He's been there forever. He's incompetent. He's arrogant, and he thinks he's beneath all of us. And he's the guy who has to okay all of these ridiculous marketing ideas. He's the guy that came up with the idea for basketball when Fran McCaffrey first came here.
Yeah.
Let's be mad again. I mean, he had buttons, he had pins, he had
Yeah.
all kinds of. I mean, just one of the stupidest
Well, who
marketing
hires
slogans.
him? Who hires? Who's responsible for hiring him?
Gary
Well,
Barta.
That's what I thought.
He's the
Now, he
athletic
should
director.
see enough of this.
I don't know what it takes. I
Oh,
will
wait,
give-
wait. He didn't hire.
No, Gary didn't hire him,
No,
but Gary's kept him on.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
No,
Okay,
no.
that's
Well, but Gary's responsible for the athletic department and everything that happens within those doors.
Did
know?
you get an answer from Barta?
Gary, to his credit, Gary Barta, the Iowa athletic director, responded almost immediately to my email. and said, I was sitting in front of my computer when your email came, it popped up, and I wanted to respond immediately. He immediately accepted blame and agreed that it was a bad idea. It was a good, I think he said it was a good idea, but bad execution. And I gave
No,
him
it wasn't
credit.
even a good idea.
I don't think so either.
No, I don't think it's
Yeah.
a good idea.
It would have been a good idea any other game, but Wisconsin or Nebraska for that matter. But we don't play
But
them.
I'm like Bob. If we're gonna do something for the veterans, do it on that day
Yeah.
or the day
Yeah.
before or after.
Yeah.
And we got the Michigan, or we got a game before Sunday, don't we?
Sunday, we have a
Monday
basketball
is a-
game the day before
Monday
Veterans
would have been
Day.
fine.
I mean, you know, and hey, maybe they'll have red, white pom-poms there too. I don't know, red, white, and blue.
Well, I don't know what it takes
They
to get
probably
fired.
have some left over.
Hey, look to Iowa State.
Oh yeah. I don't.
I would bad luck for them.
I don't know what it takes to be fired from the athletic department. But if this isn't enough, to say, you know, maybe you're not cut out to do this job. Because, again, only an idiot would look at this and say, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's put these red, white, and blue pom-poms out there against Wisconsin on blackout day on national TV and confuse everybody in the nation, which is what we did. I heard from so many people out of state who watched
I
that
did
game and
too.
said,
Yeah.
I thought it was a home game.
I did too.
And they seriously thought they were watching the game at Camp Randall.
Well,
That's what it looked
I
like to
had
them.
someone call
Yeah.
me who was complaining about giving Wisconsin all those tickets to
Yeah.
the 50-yard line.
Well, that's the other
They
thing.
didn't know
Yes.
about that. What's going
We,
on?
we look like we had given away our tickets to
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
That's right.
And it makes us look inept.
Right.
And I just want to know, when is it going to stop?
Well, you know what? This has raised enough hell that this may change things a bit.
Right.
First of all, if I'm athletic director, you better be running that stuff past me.
Oh,
I'm sure they did.
Okay.
I'm sure they did.
Came in my mind.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I don't think it's going to make it.
that's what I would suggest.
I don't think anything's
For
going
any
to change.
marketing deals in the future, you run it past the head man.
What did he say?
Gary,
Yeah.
basically that he accepted full responsibility for a poorly thought out plan and
Yeah.
that we're poised to do well the end of the season on a high note these last 3 games, and he said all the right things, but it's not so much about what you say as what you do.
Amen.
And I think our overall marketing efforts really stink. The 4 of us who's sitting in these chairs right here have talked to enough head coaches over the years and gotten their input on what they think about the Iowa Athletic Marketing Department, and it ain't good. It ain't good at all, and that's
Well,
not an
one of the reasons
exaggeration.
it's not good, they don't go talk to somebody about it. Now, who are they talking to? With 3 people and they decide we're gonna do it?
No, I think that they're wrong in who they put ahead of things. We got 2 women. I know.
don't know.
2 women on the committee,
Paula Jantz and Lisa Pearson.
and they don't belong on that.
Okay.
I don't know, not because they're women.
No, not because they're women, because they
Right.
don't think like a man.
Well,
Well,
I don't know what
then if
gender-
the director goes home right as soon as the ball game starts, he didn't think too much of it.
You know.
Well,
it's-
let's move
It's
on.
yeah, thanks for letting me air
Yeah,
my
I-
grievance.
Well, it's something I think we had to air out because
agree.
I never had
been
so
the
much
topic of
talk about that
conversation,
as.
It was just
And
ridiculous.
I'm like Murphy. I think even if we won, they would still been upset.
Yes.
Oh, I guarantee
Yeah.
you. Guarantee you. The Hawkeye men's and women's basketball teams kicked off the exhibition season on Sunday. The men beat Augustana handily in a exhibition opener, and then the season will begin this Friday at home. Again, another doubleheader this Friday. The men are going to host North Carolina Wilmington at 8:30, and then on Sunday they will host Nebraska Omaha at 3:30. Neither of these games are going to be on TV. Neither of them. So thank you, Big Ten Network. The Iowa women. Go ahead.
What
Go ahead.
about Channel 22?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Why can't they do it if they don't? The Big Ten do it?
Don't know.
You're going to have to hug your radio,
Yeah.
as Jim Zawa used to say.
Tune into KXAC, WHO. If you're online savvy, you can get in. It's called ESPN3, and apparently you can watch it, but I wouldn't count on it. I'm not even going to waste my time. I think I'm going to go to the games. So the women open the season with an exhibition win over Concordia St. Paul, and they will host Cal Riverside on Friday at 6 p.m. And then on Sunday, they'll host Dayton at 1 p.m. That, again, neither of those games will be on TV.
Dayton has a good team.
They do have a good team.
Yes.
One thing that you will notice if you watched the games on Sunday, or the game, because the women's game wasn't on TV, there's a new rule in college basketball. It's the hand check rule. You now cannot put your hand as a defensive player on your opponent who has the ball. If you do, foul. Boom. And if you watch that game Sunday, it was really long and laborious because it was a foul fest.
Right.
Everybody
gonna
was
see a
getting
lot of
called.
those.
Yeah, we are going to see a lot of it.
See, I was sat on a chair down there, and some of them I don't think should have been called.
Really?
If
Well,
the
they
rule's
will.
a rule.
Yeah.
Here's the
But it
deal.
was too-
That's the way basketball was intended to be played, and that's how we grew up playing basketball.
Joe.
Hands off.
Yeah.
And in the last 25 or 30 years, they've let all these Division I schools mug each other.
Yes.
I agree.
You
with
know, and so
I agree.
they
Bob.
let it get out of hand, and now we're going to completely reverse things.
Yep.
And we're gonna see a lot of long games.
But
Yeah.
boy, they
Lot of fouls.
didn't, some of those calls, I swear that offensive player just went by our guy.
Yeah.
And he hit his hand on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's too close there.
You're going to see
Sunday.
it. You're going to see a lot of it in the women's games too, because there are some teams who have more physical players, bigger, stronger,
Right.
And they
brawnier.
mentioned Michigan State,
Yeah.
For women,
and both of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nebraska,
They play very physical,
Penn
yeah.
State,
But
Ohio
Murph brought up a
State,
good
they're all
thing.
very
I think
physical.
Michigan State has been doing it for years.
Oh, they have.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they have.
Right.
And it's going to be interesting to see how this impacts games, not just with the slowdown of the game, not with just tons of foul calls, but how's it really going to change the game? I think it's going to change it for the better. I want to see people move their feet, move their legs, move their butts and hips to play defense. That's how we were taught. We all grew up, and if you touched your opponent with your hand, they called a foul. You can't do it.
But these kids that are playing today that are between 18 and 22 years old, they've been brought up
Yeah.
with the other philosophy. It's
That's
going
right.
to take a couple of years for these kids to adjust.
It's all they know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're used to a lot
See,
more
how did you
physical
come up
basketball.
with it? Or when did this rule come out? Why don't more people know it? See,
Just came out this year.
Well,
they
season
were,
just started.
They were booing over there.
Oh, yeah.
The Sunday thing, and I thought, well, I don't blame them. But now you're telling me it's a rule.
It's
Yes.
new rule this season.
Long games. and-
NCAA.
And there's a new rule in wrestling this season, which I think is going to be kind of similar.
Really?
We learned about that at our garden club luncheon when Tom Brand spoke to us, and essentially, the referees are going to call takedown now if the opponent, if you've got your arms around your opponent and he's not fully down on the mat but has his hands on the mat, it's takedown. Whereas before you had to break him all the way down to the mat to get a takedown. This year it's going to be hands on the mat, takedown, just like that. They're trying to speed up the game, and I think that's the goal of the basketball rule too. It may not appear that way right now, but it will speed up the game if you can stop players from really pushing and shoving with their hands on the man or the woman, the player with the ball.
But how can they say it's going to speed up the game when they're going to call a foul?
Well, eventually players will adjust, and they're
not
going to
do
have
it,
But
to,
it'll take a while.
and there's going to be more scoring. There's going to be more scoring. It might take a
Yeah.
while, yeah,
Yeah.
but they'll get the message. They'll
Now,
get
what
used
about
to
your
it.
wrestling one?
I think it'll speed up the
Do
game.
you
And
like
there'll
it?
be more
I like it a
scoring.
lot.
There'll
I
be more
like it a
scoring.
lot.
Okay, that,
Because
Yeah.
it's really hard. Tom Brands kind of showed us, and I can't really get down here. I can. Joe, can you help me out here for just a second? I'll show how this wrestling rule change is going to help. Can you come out and get on the camera here for a second? In the past, if you had an opponent down like this, he wasn't on the ground all the way, but if he's still up here like this and he's just got one hand up and you've got your arms around him, this is not a takedown until you get the knees on the ground. And
And the hands?
and now, yeah, and the hands. And now, if it's just like this and you're around him, it's a takedown. So,
Well, let me ask you this.
I'm sorry, I meant the camera, Joe. I didn't want you to have to
get down
wrestle
there, Joe.
me. You want to wrestle?
Well, let me ask you this. What does Tom Brands think about it? Does he like it?
I think he liked it when
Well,
he
then
spoke
that-
to us.
That tells me what I want to know. If he likes it, then
Yeah.
it's probably good for wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing he pointed out was a lot of times referees had to wait and wait and
And-
wait
and
until
get
you
in
broke the
position to
opponent down
call.
and get in the proper position.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's kind of hard to get in the. Sometimes it's hard to
Right.
get in the
Yeah.
proper position because you've got to scramble to one side or the other
That's right.
of the two wrestlers to see what's
Yeah.
going on. Whereas now it's real simple. It's right out in front of you. If both hands are on the mat and your opponent has his arms around you, takedown.
What
And
about
again, that's
Fran?
going to be tough for the kids to
Does
adjust.
he like it?
We haven't
Been
heard.
wrestling the
Yeah,
other
we
way
heard.
for years.
Yeah.
That's how they learned to wrestle. So now that's quite a change.
Wrestling is, I think, more accustomed to having regular changes in rules. You know, if you think about it, there used to be three-minute periods,
That's true.
and now it's 3 minute, 2 minute, 2 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody asked, I think it was Bob, is this worldwide,
Collegiate.
just collegiate?
Collegiate.
So it's an NCAA rule.
Correct.
That's right.
Okay.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's the same with basketball. It's an NCAA rule.
All right.
Nothing more. But I feel in basketball there was way too much shoving of the ball handler with the hand. It got really physical, and I think it took away from
Oh,
the
even
game.
hanging on to the shirt
Oh yeah.
in basketball.
Oh yeah.
Now, will this have any influence over the days of Evashevsky when Notre Dame came to town? And
Well-
I don't know where it was, Notre Dame or Iowa, but that always made me,
The injury timeout rule.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But they changed the rule directly because of that Notre Dame Iowa game.
That's
They
right.
changed
that
the
was
injury
here in
time.
Iowa
Yeah.
City.
Was the-
That was
yeah,
in the
okay.
60s or 50s?
60s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it 60s?
Yeah.
Oh,
Speaking of Notre Dame,
wait,
the
it had
Hawkeyes
to be-
play Notre Dame this year.
Yes, they
It had to
did.
be, Jerry Burns, when was he the coach?
Jerry Burns was coach from 60 to
64.
67, maybe.
Why, I bet this was in the 50s.
The Notre Dame Irish.
Yeah.
Late 50s.
Yeah, Evachevsky was coaching, right? Murph?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
Okay.
Let's switch to high school football
Yeah.
real quickly. All three city teams won their first round game a week ago tonight. City High, West High, and Regina all won fairly convincingly. I think
Yes.
City High had a close win. And then they played again, all of them, at home. No, that's not true either.
No.
City High had to go to Xavier, and they pretty much got smoked. 34-0. Xavier's a really good team.
Yeah.
Yes. mhm.
City High has no shame in losing to Xavier the way they did. City High,
For the season they had a fantastic
Yeah,
season.
they finished 8-3.
Beating West High
8-3.
Homes.
That's right.
yeah. And then West High had a home game against Bettendorf and had a fairly miraculous comeback late in the game to tie it up, and in fact missed, I think it was a 43-yard field goal with no time left in regulation.
Just missed it.
Just missed it. And that would have won the game. And in overtime, West High got it first, scored a field goal. Bettendorf got it next, scored a touchdown, game over. So West High exits in the second round of the playoffs again. No shame. They finished 9-2.
Great season.
Great season. The only loss was to Bettendorf, and then, of course, City High in the battle for the boot.
Murph
So,
and myself were sitting in the van listening to him. We got that confused with the game.
I was really confused too.
Yeah,
We got in the car after the Regina game, and they said, Westside just scored a field goal, Bettendorf scored a touchdown. We were so confused, didn't understand. Westside takes the lead. Bettendorf wins. I mean, what? Wait, what? Regina had, I thought, a fairly tough first-round opponent in,
Isn't Marv Cook a good?
he's a great coach.
We
really good
should-
man.
You should give him credit.
Yeah.
What?
I agree with you.
Well,
There's one that I tell you, they go in at halftime and he gets those coaches.
They make the
This
adjustments.
is gonna stop, and it stopped.
isn't it true?
Yeah,
Regina is now 11-0. They have won 53 straight games. They have 2 more games to win to
How many
tie
of
the state
Of
record.
the 50 are, what? Cooks, you get credit for.
All of them. All those games are under Marv Cook.
Is
All
that
53.
right?
Yep.
Of his son.
Of his son? No,
No.
of under
No.
Marv. All of those games were won under Marv Cook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
mean the
the
number.
53
But his
game
son
winning
could be
streak.
there to beat the record.
Right.
at
Yeah.
this
Oh,
time.
he will be.
Yeah.
If they beat it.
Marv Cook right now, and he's in his 7th season. He's 84 wins, 5 losses.
Isn't that something?
Not a bad start to a career.
Yeah. So
What's that percentage? That's like 79%.
no, it's higher than that. It's 90 something.
I was gonna say it.
I'm not very good at math.
No, I'm not.
92%.
92%. That's not bad, Marv. You know,
Bob,
Yeah,
they beat a really good.
See, I think it's 91.
no, there you go. See? But the point is, it ain't bad.
On Monday night, they beat a really good Clayton Ridge Guttenberg team that had only lost 1 game all year.
their quarterback was something else.
He was the difference in that team.
That quarterback was just like Ohio State's
That's,
quarterback.
that's what we were
He'd
saying.
run
Yes.
back and forth.
He was hard to bring down.
I know.
And the final score, which was 35-3, is not indicative of how close that
That's right.
game was. I think at halftime it was 14-3.
Yeah.
And
The end of 3 quarters, it was 21-3.
Yeah, and it was even closer than that. It took some big plays by Regina, some really big plays.
Some good passing.
Oh yeah,
2 of those were touchdowns.
oh yeah.
And did
Yeah.
you notice in the Press Citizen that the great
Yeah.
coverage they had that Drew Dixon,
Drew Dixon threw a pass
Oh,
to
that's so bad.
Riley Cook or whatever.
yeah,
Don't even know the names.
they
of
don't
the
even know,
kids.
yeah, I mean, come on.
Well,
Anyway,
That's,
you're never going to get the coverage
that's-
you deserve.
they used to
at
have
Regina.
proofreaders,
that's
obviously they don't.
another
anymore.
one we could go on and on.
Oh, man. Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I thought it was a really good win against a quality opponent. Now they have to go on the road and face Maquoketa Valley in Delhi, Iowa, which Bud has done the research and learned is located just west of Monticello, straight north on Highway 1
Do you make
to the
deliveries
left.
up
Yeah,
there?
yeah, how'd you know?
I wondered.
Yeah, when I was delivering the sperm. But anyway, the way you go, you take highway number 1
Yep.
up to Anamosa.
Yep.
Pick up 155 and take that to Monticello,
151.
or 151.
151 to Monticello.
Take that to Monticello and then take 38 on into Delhi.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just a quick left.
60 miles.
How
Yeah,
many
about an
people-
hour,
how many
hour
people live
15. In Delhi,
Oh, quite a few,
10,000?
Oh, no, no, no.
5,000?
No.
5,000?
What percentage is that? No, about 3,000.
3,000.
now.
What they
the-
have is do a lot of cabins. You know, they had that big
Yeah.
flood
Yeah,
like
and wiped a
Delhi.
lot of it out.
Okay.
Now, Maquoketa Valley in the last 1A poll was rated 4th.
Yep.
Regina was rated 1. Dyke New Hartford was rated 2, and they got beat Monday night.
Who beat them?
Can't remember.
But let me tell you something about them. Early in the season, that sports writer up there ranked them number 1, and we were number 2. I'll never forget that.
We don't get.
Joe.
You know, you haven't lost for 3 years, and you don't get all the votes.
Yeah.
6. This is a repeat of last year's third-round playoff battle. Last year played at Regina, Maquoketa Valley and Regina. And Regina had a tough time with this team. They've got a running back he's a junior named Ryan Parmalee, and he's a bruiser. He is really tough to bring down. They've got a good quarterback. They've got a veteran line. This is all I've been able to learn about this team. I did learn a couple things, though. In their first 2 state playoff games, they faced opponents that Regina played this year. In the first game, they played West Branch and beat them by 21 points. In the second game, Monday of this week, they played West Liberty. Wilton, I'm sorry.
Wilton.
They played Wilton, really good quality opponent, and they only beat Wilton by 8 points.
8 points. And then you want to remember, West Branch was ahead of that team at halftime.
Oh, they were?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't know that.
They come out second half and won it.
Blew them out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, you said Regina played him in the third round last year. What was the score of that game?
I want to say, I can't remember. I could not find it for the love of me. I couldn't find it. But the way I remember it, it was a 14-point win, but Regina really struggled to stop their quarterback. This guy's good, and their running back is just a stud.
Well, moving forward from Maquoketa Valley, this would be the quarterfinals. These last 3 opponents, if they're fortunate enough to get to that final game, they're all tough at this point.
You better believe it.
And if I had to take an area where Regina's weak at, go back to pass defense again.
Yep. Well,
Okay.
I think you
this
can say
guy's
that
a
for
real
about
good back.
any 1A team. You're just not going to have enough kids
Well, that's
of
true.
the talent level to stop.
And especially tall.
Right.
How many points did they score?
Who? Maquoketa Valley?
No,
Regina?
no.
Clayton Ridge, Guttenberg only scored 3 points.
Yeah.
35 to 3.
But they moved the ball. They did move the ball.
Murph was hoping they didn't.
I was there.
I think this is going to be a really tough game.
Well, and it's at their place.
At their place.
Everybody in town, because this team that we played Monday, they brought a lot of people in.
They did. They had good fans.
Oh, I know.
They had
Really
that-
good fans.
their box seats were all.
Yeah.
Those seats across the way.
Oh, yeah.
Theirs was filled.
And I have to believe that it won't be just Maquoketa Valley fans that are going to turn out
That's right.
for this game. You're going to get a lot of fans from that general area who want to see Marv Cook, who want to see his son Drew, who want to see Ed Hinkle and all the other former Hawkeye coaches,
If you're an
Jason
Iowa fan,
Dumont, Alex Canellis.
You want to see Drew.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dad say, oh, he's going to basketball. Baloney.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
But
Yeah.
another
he
thing.
throws that ball 100 yards.
He can
Oh,
win it,
Yeah,
and he can
really
run
did
it too.
And he can run it.
Yes.
Got some speed.
And we found out Monday night he can catch it.
Yes, right. That's
Oh,
They did the
that's
halfback.
right, yeah.
It wasn't a halfback option. They just had.
No, right.
Was it Riley? It wasn't Riley Dixon. It was somebody else. doggone it.
Amalong, I think.
No, it wasn't.
Brinkman.
Amalong
It
did
wasn't
it when he
Brinkman.
was
It wasn't Amelon. It was somebody else. I want to say Surf or Scherf or something.
Well,
Yeah.
Surf, he's very good.
But I think that's who it was. He
Okay.
threw the pass to Drew Cook, who went out as a wide receiver. Drew Cook got knocked down, and they threw a flag, pass interference. He's lying on the ground on his back and catches this wobbly pass
Oh, gee.
from the halfback. It was a wounded duck.
Yeah.
And he caught that ball literally lying on his back in the end zone for a touchdown. It was a great play call.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
It
looked-
was pretty
it
cool.
looked like it was going to be incomplete. I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But now another thing about this team, my grandson looked up their conference, and the closest team was 5-3 for the season. So that makes a big difference. Where to me, Regina played 4 good teams in our conference. So I mean that makes a big difference who you played all season long.
Well, we're going to find out Friday night, 7 p.m. Regina at Maquoketa Valley. Guys, we are out of time. Get out there and support the Hawkeyes. Get out there and support the Regals. Congratulate your City High and West High players on a really good job this season. And I'm just going to say on behalf of Bob Boyd and Bud Supel and Earl Murphy, I'm Dirk Keller, thanking you for watching Sports Opinion every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on Channel 18. We're starting to put these shows back online, so you can go to my Facebook page and watch it anytime. And if you see Pat White walking the streets, make sure you tell him that he did a good job last week on this show. On behalf of all the guys, thanks for watching. And remember, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks, go Regals.
Amen.
I was going to say,